Hi, this is Swati. Welcome again. We are in part 3 Azure Fundamental 900 tutorial and we are going to look security, privacy, compliance and trust. Let's get started. Azure security. So we have seen in part 2 the Azure Security Center and the policies on that. We will look into the Azure security and the best practices and the shared responsibility on that. So before we start, let's understand like what are the availability set, fault domain and update domain in Azure. So availability set is a scenario that let's look into this in by taking this scenario that you have a virtual machine in Azure and it is being impacted by some or other factor, that unplanned hardware maintenance event or unexpected downtime and the planned maintenance event. So these unplanned hardware maintenance event occur when the Azure platform evaluated that hardware or the component associated with a physical machine is in a failure condition. When this event occur, Azure issue an unplanned hardware maintenance event to reduce the impact on the virtual machine hosted on the hardware. So Azure uses this migration technology to the virtual machine that form the failing hardware to a healthy physical machine. It takes few time to be up, but memory, open files and network connection are maintained, but performance might be reduced before or after the event. So the unexpected downtime occur when a hardware fails and suddenly a virtual machine, including your local network failure or a local disk failure or a rack failure, then the Azure platform detect this the type of issue, how Azure automatically migrate this virtual machine to a healthy physical machine in the same data center. This is your unexpected downtime, right? So now the availability set will ensure that Azure virtual machines are deployed across the multiple isolated hardware nodes in a cluster. If any node fail in a across numerous hardware nodes and the only subset of your virtual machine is impacted, then the overall solution is safe, because this provide the redundancy solution, and for safety it is spread your virtual machine to across multiple fault domain and update domain. What do you mean by fault domain? The two event, that unplanned hardware maintenance event and the unexpected downtime, comes under the fault domain. So a fault domain is uh, a rack of the server which consume mostly subsystem like network, power, cooling, and when you put this virtual machine on a availability set, then to protect virtual machine from the failure, it will not allow to fail, it will give some alternative solution, and Azure spread them on a fault domain and update the domain. So you have say assume that you have put two virtual machine into an availability set and the Azure will set up the VM for two different racks. So if the network power fail, then only one rack will get affected, and you can use the same availability set, and because the Azure will be provisioned them into the other different rack. So the fault domain are available in Azure and virtual machine is spread over these two fault domain, both the domain. Now when we have seen this, let's look like why key vault works in the Azure security. So it's a safeguard cryptographic keys, and it keep the password and the confidential secret question that is used to the cloud app and services. So this will increase security and control over the keys and the password. It create and import encryption keys in a minute, and it reduce latency with cloud scale and global redundancy. The application have no direct access to keys, but it simplify and automate the task for the key vault. So this enhance data protection and compliance. It control the work and it boosts the performance and achieve global scale in Azure security. And we also have some risk and Azure resources to access the compliance and the risk. So when you are into financial services or an industry and you are working with a customer, then you have a strict security and regularity on the requirement. In this we go for the hybrid cloud, where you can use the private and public cloud based on the business need. And self-service resources will be there. Your service trust portal will be there by the Azure. Audit and reports will be there. You will be having a compliance manager which Microsoft offer to set an integrated solution that leverage your artificial intelligence to help and improve the data protection capabilities and overall compliance. This will manage the activities into a single dashboard, which you will be having the risk assessment. The tool help you to track, assign and verify your organization, and compliance score, where each assessment will get compliance score to give you visibility into your compliance performance, how you're working, and recommendation will help you to address the control gap to improve the data protection and prioritize your task. Now the shared responsibility in the cloud, yeah, you will be having a division of responsibility, like responsibility is always retained by the customer, responsibilities varies type to type, responsibility is transferred to cloud provider. So you will be having different responsibilities, which we have already seen in the services, that is the SaaS, PaaS, as and on premises, where you will be having on the data point, account, endpoint, access management. The cloud security advantages is that you have cloud enabled security which shift commodity provider to reallocate your resources. It leverage the cloud based security capabilities for more effectiveness, and it use the cloud intelligence to improve detection and the response time. Now how you analyze your Azure Security Center data with Power BI. So Power BI plays a wide role in a security center while using this Power BI. So Azure Security Center offer the increased visibility and insight into your Azure resources and Azure workload security. The Power BI content pack enable you to visualize, analyze and filter recommendation and the security alerts. So if you need to give any kind of security alerts, Power BI, the out of box dashboard and the reports are created on your Azure security data, which you can enable it and analyze it and use. So the Power BI content pack will help you to explore and monitor your Azure security center for the additional details of the data, how you get started, and you can connect to your content pack. You can use Microsoft Power BI, which will be very helpful. You can explore more on that. When you search on Google, you will get that, and it will be actually recommended to go through that because it will be helpful on multiple way round. So try Power BI, and you can actually look into microsoftpowerbi.com, but if you search in Google, you can definitely look on the community and MS Power BI. When we talk on security, privacy, compliance, and trust, so SIA concept or the term come into the mind. What is CIA? SIA. So C is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So your confidentiality is your email identity doc, where you confidential data will be going to be uh, not shared, and the security and privacy should be there. You have to maintain integrity, where you are unauthorized or authorized access, whether you are or whether it is encrypted, decrypted, and what exactly the data is there. So we are going to look into the privacy and the security compliance. Availability is the trust. We go on the zero trust model, which we have already discussed in part 2. So the shared security will be, you are having some responsibility on-premise, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So you can see here we are having the Azure firewall in this diagram, and you are having your Azure SQL, virtual network. So how this Azure firewall works? So you are having the server access, IP address, and granted IP address will be allocated to use or log into the application. So this Azure firewall works on the FaaS, that is the managed services offered by Microsoft. What is this managed services FaaS? That is firewall as a service, that you can go ahead and use this service as required, and this is chargeable, unrestricted, and very high availability monitoring and logging when you use Azure firewall. So when we talk on this, there are two rule: application rule and the network rule. So when you are talking on the application rule, you are having the uh, URL, say www dot anything. That is, what is this www? That is you, it is QTN. And when you have a network rule, so all the networking side, the source address, like I've given www.google.com. So this www application rule, the what will be the network rule? The networking side, what I'm searching for the Google, that the source address, the IP address, it will be having protocol call of HTTP, and the port it will take to that site. So Microsoft provide this as a service, and we also use double DDoS protection from the attacker over internet. It is the paid service, so that we go to the particular site what we are searching, and it will save from the resource layer attack. How it is working, this network rule? So this we use NSG. There is an organization NSG which is use of the network by the internet and inbuilt on the motherboard, where we use NIC and SSG, network interface card, and network security group subnet security guidelines, and the source IP protocol network firewall you use. So 5 things we use in security, that is your source, destination, IP address, port, protocol. So this application security group, web server, so reuse security policy at scale, multiple rules setup that allow focuses on the business logic and the handle complexity of explicit IP address. So you are having a room, say you have one IP address, 200 application is running, room 2 different IP address is there, room 3 different IP address is there. So how it is maintaining, it is having the DNS that is taken care by the particular organization, domain and hosting and the security, and it track the IP address and maintain the list. Now Azure Active Directory. So in this cloud-based access management service, where our identity, our details, and allowed that access, how to access these details, that is your Active Directory, where all the identity details will be allowed by the Azure. It is a cloud setup. So different model we use, which we have already seen in the part 2, B2B and B2C, right? So business to business and business to customer, where the external partner clients will be there, and you are creating your own application within on-premises, that is your B2B. And B2C, you are allowing the user to log into your application and that is your business to customer. So you are having, you trust and allow the user. So we go with the zero touch policy, and in this we are using that MFA, that is your Azure multi-factor authentication. So what is this that you're using this MFA? That is your multi-factor authentication given by Azure. That is your like ATM card, biometric identity, cost verification, username and password. So you are using that authentication and authorization, whether you this is authentic or not, and whether you are authorized or not to use that. So if you are authorized, it will allow. If you are not authorized, it is not allowed. It will be go with that SLA and the security. So if something is suspicious, then that IP address will get changed. It will get triggered to MFA. And if you are using Google and using that particular location and logging from some other location, so within 30 minutes also it will get authenticate whether you are a right user or wrong user. Accordingly, this Azure multi-factor authentication will go off. So now in security tool and feature, the Azure Security Center, what is the role in that? So Azure Security Center, it is configured by Git, that is your just in time, and it is having that proper access and the authorization to heavily monitor in all the services. In a form of services, it track on the theft detection, and it is take care for all the kind of security. That is your Azure Security Center, and it is immediately highly available. So Azure Key Vault is that is audited, that is store the password and the confidential data, and it take care for the secret management. And here they use for the hardware security model, that is HSM, and your confidential data uh, by the security center. Now when you are working on the key vault, so you also take care for create the new alert rule. You can create your new alert rule, and based on that you can give the security question, and we use JSON programming in that, and they will help you in the security. And we also get the services and the certificate. So after a time it expire, it need to get renewed after that, once you have created the rule. So you have your key, where you can have your name, RSA key size, key type, inscription key, and you have the secret like the password and the security question, what you are doing, and what kind of certificate you need to get, that is your authorized service what you are giving, or a certificate of Microsoft, that the Azure public certificate. You can look into that when you are working on the Azure Security Center. Here also you have the Azure Information Protection, that is your AIP, Azure Information Protection. What it do, it protect your documents email by applying labels. Okay, so by hitting manually, like you are giving your Aadhaar card, or we get a label, all kind of thing, whatever information is required from the user, it is taken care by AIP, that is Azure Information Protected. It save all those data with them and protect, and by creating a rule. So 365 is the licensed one, and who has implemented this AIP. In this only you have your ATP tool, where any attacker or hacker or any malicious action it is happening, then what ATP tool it do, if anything is happening, it report to that separate portal with security, and help you to investigate these threat and safe at the organization level. We have the three component. If somebody is doing a wrong, and somebody is informing that this is happening. So we use the three component like portal where monitoring is happening, it inform you. Sensor, if any unauthorized thing is happening, that sensor will explain you by domain control traffic. And then the cloud services, that is your ATP, where it is an interface complex of intelligent security graph that you get it for the protection in a separate protocol. So identify the insiders and alert for the threat. Okay, so in this security only, and we are working on this security, privacy, compliance and trust, we actually use let understand this global admin and billing admin, how it works. So your Azure blueprint, what it do, it help audit the trace of deployment for rigorous tracking. So Azure blueprint is the agile capability and tracking whatever deployment has done. It help in the auditing and tracing for and tracking the deployment. Access can be revoked if any unauthorized thing happen, and it allow to your blueprint assignment, and the system will be like that what is allowed and not allowed, that also will be captured. So JSON programming will also help there, where you can get subscription governance by subnet, and you have some service limit. We also use the tag, that resources which support or don't support tag. So like owner value, like that query you can create. Now when we are working on the active directory, so this active directory is the managing the uses, how it help in the security and the privacy and compliance in that. So there will be two level of access in that, in AD. One is RBAC and other is RD role. So RBAC is the role based access control, and other is access for authorization. What does it mean? So your RBAC is something like which will be controlling I mean to say in particular whatever is your access is allowed to you, what are you authorized to that, that is your what all services is provided and you can use that, that is your RBAC. And access for authorization, that what all things and user is authorized and they can be used. So let's understand with this a small example of this thing. So you have an empty room. Understand that your Active Directory AD is an empty room. It's a empty house, I could say. And in that particular house, you have multiple rooms. Right? You have say 5 rooms in that one house. So in that one house, you are providing, working on a resource group level, and you are providing your electricity subscription. So you have told that you all the rooms, and if you are taking the PG and you are giving the subscription, whatever you are uses for electricity subscription will be there, and according to your uses you are going to use that. People will be there to open the door or switch off the AC with some password, and control will be there, what all things you are allowed to uses. So that will be your that will be your role based access control. So for each thing in your empty house, people are there. So one will be taking for electricity subscription, that is one role. Other will be taking care for switching off the door or with any password, anything you are controlling the things, that is the other role. Other person will be doing some you doing some other uses, that you are, or you are using some resources, that is the other role. So in that multiple facilities are there and you are using, that is your role based access control. You have control with the subscription. Now in that each room, all room, they are also having the access to use this subscription, and whatever, if they want to use any resource, from where they will use that resource, in that house only they are going to use all the resources freely. So you have given that authorization, that is your access for authorization. So uh, this is going to be help in the security and the privacy. So this is mainly we have seen on the what factor are here and what all role are here, how we can help in that. So what is the maximum cost will provide when you are using the you mean to say data, maximum cost. So the data is coming in or the outbound data is going, so the maximum cost on the network will provide that outbound data. So we have seen here, and on the Azure firewall, Active Directory, MFA, Security Center, Key Vault, and AIP. So this Azure Active Directory will be on RBAC, that is role-based access control, and your access for authorization. So whatever will be the bigger your picture where you have given the facility and provided the subscription, that is your RBAC under this Azure Active Directory, and whatever is you are able to access based on the authorization, that is your access for authorization. In Azure storage and database, you have Bob storage. It will be in a Boolean way, either on off, so 1001, and then the objective storage will be there, and then you have a file storage where lift and shift concept will get apply. Then the queue storage where scheduling uh, uh, task will be get assigned, and when then you have a table storage, so your key value storage, and then you have a disk storage, that will be permissible disk for the virtual machine, and the available on the Windows, Mac, and Linux. So we will get into the detail, but whenever the question will come, so anything will be on a Boolean, and the objective storage go with the blob storage. If anything, the file transfer will get from one place to another lift and shift. Any document or file, that will be a file storage. If any scheduling task will be there, then you go for the key storage. And if in a tabular form, a key value storage, then it will be a table storage, and this storage will be permissible. That particular disk which is permissible for the virtual machine, that will be a risk storage. And through VPN login, server manager, you will get by the Azure, and you will get your VM, and like that you will get a connection. So you can create an storage account and the virtual machine. In that, when you use Azure Container, Azure Files, Azure Table, or Azure Queue, so in Azure Container, the store text, binary data, and the scalable object. Your text, binary data, and the scalable object. So scalable is the cost effective storage for the unstructured data. The Azure file will be managed file share for the cloud and on-premise deployment, which will be the serverless SMB file share. And your Azure table will be there, where the ideal for the storing of the structured and non-structured or non-relational data, a tabular data storage. And the Azure queue will be a messaging store for reliable messaging between the application component and the effective scale apps according to traffic. Azure SLA, service level agreement. So web application along with SQL database is your composite SLA, service level agreement. Stand alone SLA, that is standalone service level agreement. So how to increase? You will get, so you will be having your web application, then what will be the SLA on that, what SQL database will get, and it will be on 99.99%. Okay, in a particular region A, you are having with the 99.99% with the Q of 99.9%. So web application or a SQL application with the queue. So how you are going to go with that? This means your web application and a database or queue is equal to 99.95 into 99.99 equal to approx 99.95. So this will be the complete setup. So here in application service level agreement, you will be having your SLA, you will be having your MTTR, that is your average time, you will be having MTBF, how much time taken for that application, and then RPO, that recovery point objective, like maximum acceptable time for that application to remain unavailable. This will be captured on the SLA, and that is your primary outage and the maximum duration of the data loss. So this is a hot beat pattern where API will provide you an alert that this is a downtime, and accordingly for that application, and accordingly you need to look. So let's take an example when we use any application, Amazon or Flipkart. So very little, very rare sometimes the downtime will come up, but it will be taken up, right? So it will be based on that SLA. So you will be having your public review and then your private review. That is your MVP term and condition which will be going to be applied. So your you can look into this more details, preview.portal.accenture, and the general availability means it will be tested. So when a new item will come up, it will be get approved, it will be get active, it will be in a fixed state, it will get, if it is not fixed, then it will get resolved, it will get verified, and then again it will be go up to the active stage. So like that it work. Your app services, your Azure SQL, your Cosmos DB, Azure SQL DB, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL manage instances. So we have to go through on the virtual network, VPN gateway, express route. So we will look into the other slide about the Bob, file, queue, table, and the DV, and the available window for Mac and Linux. For all virtual machines that have two or more instances deployed across two or more availability zones in the same Azure region, that will guarantee that you will have virtual machine connectivity to at least one instance at least 99.99% of the time. And for all virtual machines that have two or more instances deployed in the same availability set, then the virtual machine connectivity to at least one instance will have that 99.95 of the time. Now we when the when it will be deployed one or more availability zone, then the connectivity will be at least for one instead will be 99.99, and when it will be on the same availability zone, then the connectivity will be at least for one instant will be 99.95 of at the time. Now if a single instant virtual machine using premium storage for all operating system disk and data disk, then the virtual machine connectivity will be at least for 99.9%. So here the version history will be there, and it will be get updated every time as per the uses. Now we will go with the service level agreement. So this service level agreement for the Microsoft Online Services is a licensing agreement, and it is capitalized term used that applies that Microsoft Online Services listed, and does not apply to the separate branded services made available with or connected to the services to any on premise software. that is the part of any service. If we do not achieve and maintain service level for each service as described in a SLA, then you may be eligible for the credit towards a portion of your monthly service fee. It will not modify the term of your SLA during the initial term of your subscription. However, if you renew your subscription, the version of this SLA that is current at a time of renewal will apply throughout your renewal term. And this will provide at least 90 days notice for adverse material changes for the SLA. Here are the references link which has been taken by doc.microsoft.com. You can go ahead with the Azure Microsoft.com, create your Azure account. You can go ahead and create the multiple key vault or the dev test, what we have already seen in part 1, 2 and 3. You can also go ahead, in fact I will recommend, please go ahead to doc.microsoft.com and you can look into the tutorial where you will get all the insight on Azure networking, VPN, everything from the scratch. And the last link I have given for the beginner guide what Microsoft Azure has provided, and feel free to explore as much as you can. Thank you. See you very soon. Please like and subscribe the channel.